Need a holiday gift that will get your loved ones moving? Sierra helps you save on everything from fitness watches to fleeces, yoga mats to massage guns, or consider bribing them with gift cards. Sierra, let's get moving to your local store, like now. Go!
At Intel, world-changing ideas start with real solutions, and real solutions start with exceptional engineering. The quantum computing revolution, the next generation of AI experts, the renewable energy grid, early diagnosis for cancer. The examples are countless. The impacts are endless. But the foundation is always the same. It starts with Intel. Learn more at intel.com/stories.
Hey guys! So a lot of you have been asking me about my morning skincare routine.
Actually, no one has asked Holly about her morning skincare routine. Until her follower count goes up, she needs to influence an employer to give her a job with a paycheck.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sign up for a free Indeed account and get matched with the right jobs right away. Smart search filters and salary visibility help ensure you only apply to jobs that meet your expectations.
Hey guys, let's get ready for my first day at my new job.
Create your Indeed account today.
As a parent, you know it's not just baby talk.
Somebody's hungry.
So talk with your baby's doctor about invasive pneumococcal disease, or IPD, and ask how Prevnar 20 pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine can help protect them. Children under 2 are at increased risk, but Prevnar 20 can help them develop more immunity to 20 strains of bacteria that cause IPD.
Prevnar 20 is approved for children 6 weeks and older to help prevent infections from 20 strains of bacteria that cause invasive pneumococcal disease. Do not get Prevnar 20 if your child has had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Those with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Talk to your healthcare provider before vaccination if your baby was born prematurely. Side effects may include irritability, pain, redness, swelling at the injection site, drowsiness, muscle pain, decreased appetite, headache, and fever. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Ask about Prevnar 20 for your baby. Visit askforprevnar20.com.
Distractions happen. So the new fully electric Volvo EX90 comes with a 2-sensor driver understanding system designed to help prevent distractions and keep you focused. Reserve yours today. Visit volvocars.com/US.
Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development, where we share original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We hope you join us often for practitioner-oriented content around all things related to leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. If you enjoy the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, enjoy ad-free listening by going to the Patreon page, and please consider contributing even at the producer or sponsorship level. And please leave a review. Thank you for your support. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Andy Mowat about how our mental wellness suffers in a digitally noisy world and what we can do about it. Andy Mowat, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. You're joining us from the Bay Area. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. And today we're going to be talking about how our mental wellness suffers in a digitally noisy world and what we can do about it. A super important topic generally, I think. So in it, you know, as I think about myself, my family, my spouse, my kids, I think it's an important topic. But this influences the workplace. It influences our teams and our effectiveness, our efficiencies, our productivity, our creativity, and innovation. So this is all of what we're going to be talking about and trying to unpack as we try to promote wellness at home and at work. As we get started, I wanted to share Andy's bio with everybody. Andy Mowat is co-founder and CEO of Gated. He has built 3 unicorns, including in his prior role growing Culture Amp from 5 to 75 million. Previously, Andy ran operations at Upwork and Vox. Andy has spent much of his career in human capital and is now building Gated, which is helping individuals take control of their attention and focus more deeply. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. Anything else you would like to share with me or my listeners by way of your background or personal context before we dive on in further?
You described it really well. I think the one thing I'd say in all of my roles prior to this, I've basically been the guy pummeling your email. I've sent billions of emails. I literally pushed send on an email to 15 million people one time, and I know every trick in the book. And so, like, this is, at the middle point of my career, this is a problem that I have caused to some degree and understand very deeply. And I think Gated was born out of my own personal pain, which was I was just blown up on email. And so I decided to solve it. And I hacked it together with a Venmo and all of that. And people started donating, and I started telling people about it. And they said, oh my God, I need this. And so we've got a core product, but the vision is really deeply tied around what you just described, which is mental wellness, giving you the ability to control the ever increasing noise that is attacking us all.
Yeah. And it's all around us all the time because we have devices. And I mean, I'm in my office right now and I have like a 3-monitor screen set up, but then I have my tablet off to the side and I have my phone there and I have like all these different things and I can have a zillion windows open. Now, on the one hand, that's great because it's efficient. I can be productive. But the problem is it's like information overload at times, the stimulation overload. And then when I leave my desk and I'm just walking around, I still have my phone on me that's pinging constantly. And it's not just social media. I mean, there was that really great Netflix documentary that came out a couple of years ago. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I'm sure you remember. But I remember watching that with my kids. It was all about social media and the impacts that can have on our brain and our emotions and our mental well-being. But we're not just talking about social media. I mean, it could just be all work-related stuff or just other normally kind of healthy types of communication, but we're just bombarded so constantly that it really takes its toll. So that's the reality that we're in. We're in constant information download and even overload and stimulus overload. And we have to figure out ways to deal with that effectively, or our health, our physical and our mental health is going to suffer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's, I will own that I struggle and suffer from this as well too. I think we're constantly building the Gated product to help pieces of this. And if people haven't seen our manifesto, I think it really talks about this problem of you don't control your own attention in most cases, right? Anyone can put an email into your inbox at any time, and then you've got to deal with sweeping up the mess.
So let's start with focus, because I know that's obviously a big piece of this, and that's kind of the flip side of the coin from this constant struggle with all of the noise that's out there. We have to figure out how we can focus more often and better. And in part, that helps us get into our flow state so we can work better, but it just helps us to be more healthy physically and mentally. So how do we start to get more focus in our lives, in our day-to-day, both at home and at work?
I believe there's two things, and we've been spending a lot of time studying this in addition to building the product. There's discipline, and then there's norms. I think people understand most of the theory around discipline. So this is like calendar blocking, turning off your notifications, the Pomodoro method, all these types of things where you're just at a fundamental level, like there are proven strategies that you can read in books and study to improve your discipline. We're not all good at it, and tools can help around the edges. So I'd say that's part one. I think the part two that I'm spending a lot of time studying and thinking about that people don't realize is the problem of norms, right? So John, say you've decided that you want to focus, but your team or other people don't know that you want to focus. How do they adjust to you? So I talked to a lot of executives and they're like, oh yeah, we tried no meeting Wednesday. It was a total disaster, right? Well, but did you set the norms and educate people and do that? I think there's, in the Cal Newport book On the End of Email, he talks a lot about the concept of, well, if you decide, we all know that you should only check email once or twice a day. But we all check it all the time. Same thing with social media. And so, okay, if you try to only check it twice a day, there are apps that can do that. Gated may build a piece of that at some point too. But at a fundamental level, the people that are expecting your response still expect a response on a more recent time. So they start to be like, hey, I need this quick, or I need this quick. And so they're not adjusting to you. And I think if we spend a lot of time thinking about how can we help people set the norms on their own things. So like, great, I'm in focus mode now. The ultimate parallel, which somebody actually coined for Gated, is noise canceling headphones for your email. It's an accepted social norm. When you're in an office and you're walking down that thing and you see that person with their headphones on, don't bother them, or come up very quietly and tap them on the shoulder. There doesn't exist something like that in the work from home, remote work, asynchronous communication type of thing. And, we're spending a lot of time thinking about that. That's not the core of what our product is today, but it's coming.
This episode is brought to you by Starry. When you drink Starry Lemon Lime Soda, every sip is a win. Perfect for game time or anytime. It's a crisp, refreshing lemon lime soda that's caffeine-free and bursting with flavor that makes you go, ah. Starry hits different. Find it in stores or online today.
Between all too early mornings and way too late nights, putting out fires and firing off new ideas, you deserve to be rewarded for growing your business. That's why American Express Blue Business Plus gives you 2 times membership rewards points on your first $50,000 in purchases per year. It's rewards that make running your business even more rewarding. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/blue-business-plus. Amex Blue Business Plus. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Mejuri. Feeling generous? That's the spirit. Celeb favorite fine jewelry brand Mejuri is the ultimate holiday gifting destination. With something shiny for everyone, like styles under $150 and responsibly sourced diamonds. These gifts won't just impress. They'll never be taken off. Visit Mejuri.com and order your gifts by December 20th to get them by the 22nd. Or find a nearby store.
Oh, hey, I'm Cheryl, and I just opened something called a self-directed IRA.
Meet Cheryl, alternative investment visionary.
I just wanted to invest in a wider variety of things.
Sayonara, stocks and bonds.
Not entirely, but now I also use my tax advantage savings to buy things like rental property.
Welcome to Profit Town. Population Cheryl.
Thanks, I like it here.
Can your IRA invest in real estate?
At New Direction, the answer is yes.
Get started at ndtco.com.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply. USAA.
Yeah. It's just so important, and we have to find ways. Like I'm trying to think when I did it. It was probably early on in the pandemic. I think I just saw someone else do it, but the emails that come in at all times, right? And it's one thing if I choose, to engage with my email more often. But the problem is if I'm in a leadership or management role and then I'm shooting off emails at all hours of the day, whether I tell my people or not, that they have to respond right away, most people will feel like they need to respond. So if I send off that email at 11 at night because I happen to be awake and I'm sitting in bed and I have a thought and I send an email, that's going to make people feel pressure to respond and be on call at all hours. Or if I, sometimes I don't sleep well, so I'm up at 3 a.m. and I'm like sitting in bed with my phone and I'm like have thoughts and I'm trying to get them all out. And I have no expectation that other people are going to be awake, that other people are going to be working or doing anything. It's just something that, I might be doing on that given day. And so I made a really concerted effort to communicate that. First of all, communicate what I just said to my team to help them understand that just because I'm sending you something doesn't mean you need to respond. Like a reasonable window of time, yes, within half a day or a day, yes, please respond. But it's not immediate, it's not urgent. If something's crazy, if there's a huge crisis and it is immediate and urgent, I'll let you know, but otherwise it's fine. And I'm just trying to get things off my plate and move them on. So I have that conversation with them. I actually put a disclaimer in the top of my email signature, so right after the message, the first thing they read before they even see my name is, I recognize that this may be coming at an odd time. Don't feel like you need to respond right away. So I do that. So I'm trying to communicate it. But to your point, just because I'm communicating that, it doesn't necessarily change the norms of people feeling that pressure. And
well,
so
you've made a better step than most people have.
And that was a first step. But then the next step was I had to realize that maybe instead of sending that email at 3 a.m, maybe I put it in my drafts. I write it because that's when I'm thinking about it. I put it in my drafts and then I wait until 8 a.m. to send it. Right. And so like there's simple things like that we can do that are going to tremendously improve the quality of life for people on our teams, especially if they have felt that pressure in the past.
I couldn't agree more. I think if you think about it, like our tools that we use have not embedded the right norms into them. So you touched on one, which is really interesting, which is the delayed send. Slack has it, Google has it. I'm sure Microsoft has it as well too, where you can do that, but oftentimes we don't. We've been spending a lot of time talking to a lot of our users around, do you use the delayed send? When do you use it? How do you use it? So like, I'm now very conscious, like I'm on nights and weekends, I want to set the right example. And so for my team, I will delayed send everything. And then, but in theory, our systems can be a lot smarter, which is just flick a switch and say, listen, on the night and weekend, unless I override it, I want the default to be delayed send, but I also don't want it all to appear at 9 a.m. on Monday morning and blow everybody up too. So there's a lot of thought that's never gone into like mental well-being in the design of the tools that we're building.
Delayed send, absolutely. And just putting the thought into it, like you said, so important. As long as we can be thoughtful about it, we can sidestep a lot of these types of challenges. So we know that this can impact us. We've already alluded to the mental wellness component in this digitally noisy world. Other thoughts on how we can utilize technology to defend our attention, to help us to focus, so that we're not constantly feeling like we're trying to keep 20 balls in the air juggling at all times, which is not possible, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, kind of at a fundamental level, discipline, there's probably a ton of thoughts that there's even deeper thinkers than I am. Norms, we talked a lot about. For me, the ability to also kind of like guide to the right channels is important, right? So like I have, LinkedIn, Slack, Twitter, email and text and phone and all of that. And so there's just so many different channels. And I think what I've tried to do, and a lot of folks that I talk to do, is like, I am going to decide on what channel I want to consume what information. And so for me, I look at it in twofold. One is I've got the default message on my LinkedIn, which is don't email me, don't send me a LinkedIn. I'm not going to get to it. That LinkedIn inbox is just too overloaded. Go ahead and send me an email if it really matters. And so I try to narrow the channels that I'm communicating to very few. And then I'd say after that, I try to really like structure when I check those different channels as well too. So that's definitely another tactic that I found works really well.
Yeah, excellent. So as you're building Gated to try to help with all of these things, it will create, hopefully create a better world where everyone can focus more and just do their work better. One of the things I mentioned a little bit ago, and I think is very much a benefit of how we manage our attention and the ability to focus, is the fact that, there's quite a bit of research out there on flow states.
Yes.
And if we're going to try to tap into our flow states, that almost never will happen if we're completely bombarded with, sensory inputs and just all the digital inputs constantly. Like we have to give ourselves space to calm our mind, to be disconnected a little bit so that we can get to a point where we can get into those flow states. And if I'm trying to, I can't always control exactly when those are going to happen. And, sometimes I'm trying to push myself into a flow state that doesn't really work, but you can create the context, the situations in which you're more likely to move into that kind of a state where you can just work more naturally and be more creative. Thoughts on that, and maybe experiences that you've had with your own businesses, because clearly you've been super successful in building and helping to administer really great, successful businesses in the past.
Yeah, the concept of deep work, I think you're talking about, it resonates. I mean, it is so true. I think I guess I look at it in two things. One is like deep work matters, and we want to enable people to carve it out. So we spend a lot of time with our team norms, trying to say like, listen, Fridays is no internal meeting day, and we're not going to break that. We also think deeply about like, how do you block your calendar? And we start to respect that across the entire team. So I think giving the ability for teams to do that is really good. Now, separately, I think I personally have seen, and I struggle with, there's still so much inbound communication. Even if you're like deep work with your team and your team respects it, there's still so much inbound communication coming in throughout the day. And so how do you wall that off so you can truly get into that deep work state, right? Like especially if you're an executive and you're out there and you're communicating with other people, and part of your job is being out there and being present, being on social media, being on email and being responsive, being able to accept those times is good. I still find that I'm not able to put up sufficient walls. And so I end up, nights and evenings and weekends, there is none of the inbound communication coming in. And so then you're able to be in a much, much deeper state of work. I also find that you just need to leave all communication devices behind and take the walk. And so those have been the two tactics that helped me from a deep work, deep thinking perspective.
Longtime listeners of the podcast, they know every now and then I reference how I love walking my dogs. I have 2 dogs, a park right behind our house. I try to take them on at least 2 walks a day, and one in the morning, one in the evening. And I find that oftentimes it's just being out, moving, the movement, being out, fresh air, nature with my pets, with no distractions, with no messages coming in. Sometimes I have my phone with me, but I'm not checking it. I have it silenced, and I'm just focusing on that experience. And I have no intention necessarily of trying to come up with the next great idea or whatever. It just happens because I'm in a quiet, calm kind of a condition where now I'm just out there and my mind is just free and it's just kind of wandering. Sometimes it's just kind of a meditative state. Other times, I really do, all of a sudden I find myself with that perplexing challenge or problem that I'm not sure how to tackle or how to respond to, and I've been really struggling with. And then all of a sudden, I just the solution comes to me, and I just kind of have that spark of inspiration, if you want to call it that. I have that spark of just that flow state that I reach, that all of a sudden my brain's working in a different way, and I'm able to go in a place that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. So everyone has those things, right? And for me, I found there's other ways too, but for me, if I'm ever in real need of just resetting, mental reset and disconnect and trying to get a solution to a really perplexing problem, that's the best way I found to really give me the best chance of doing it. And whatever that is for you, go experiment and to try it. There's books on this, on how you can promote it. And not everything's going to work for you like it does for everyone else. So there's no one size fits all or kind of trick, silver bullet for this, but figure out what works for you. Disconnect, like you said, leave the device behind even. Just don't give yourself the temptation. And then all of a sudden, I think you'll find that there's so many positive benefits to that. And we haven't even talked about the relational aspect of this, which I think is also huge, is when we're so distracted, despite our best intentions, how important does that person sitting across from us feel, if we're checking our phone constantly, whether it's at work and I'm sitting, I'm in a one-on-one with a member of my team, and maybe I feel like I need to be accessible to my boss. And so I have my phone on the table in front of me, and I can even have it turned over so the screen's not up. But then it buzzes, right? And then I'm tempted to check it. And even if I don't check it, the fact that it's there, the fact that the person across from me hears it buzzing, that has an impact on how we interact with each other and the relationships that we build with each other. And certainly at home, I think about my spouse, I think about my children. If we're sitting around and we're all just on our phones, how much are we really with each other? How much are we really connecting with each other? How much are we building and strengthening our relationships with each other? And the answer is, I don't think very much in those circumstances. So that's another benefit of just focusing on what matters, prioritizing. And, there's a time and a place to utilize these tools. We have great technology that can provide great benefits to us in our work. That's wonderful. We don't need to get rid of all the technology. That's not what we're saying, but just find times where you can focus on work-related things, find times when you can focus on other things and focus on relationships. And if we can do that, I think that will be a big part of helping us to foster, better self-care, more resilient mental health, which of course feeds into our physical health. This has just been a really fun conversation, Andy. We're getting close to the time to wrap up, and I'm wondering if you have any other thoughts around Gated that you would like to share with us. Anything else about kind of what might be coming down the pipeline, what to expect here in the near future, and then we can start to wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really dove into Gated much, but at a fundamental level, the current paradigm of email is everything should go in your inbox, and the big data providers are going to try to use data to pull out the bad stuff. I think we all know that doesn't work, right? Like, either people are gaming the system and cheating in or whatever. So you end up in a situation, it's the classic problem of the commons, right? Where people are not, you have to end up doing the work to clean up other people's trash. And so Gated takes the opposite view, which is, if you don't know somebody, if you haven't communicated with them before or allowed them in some way, they shouldn't be in your inbox, but they should have an opportunity to prove that they should. And so what we effectively do is take all unknown, unallowed email out of your inbox, put it in the side folder, and send them a note saying, I don't know you. Here's my favorite nonprofit. If you donate, then that email I will read it, and I will see it, and I will read it. We don't guarantee reply. We don't force our users to do that. And so that at a fundamental level is what Gated does. We also allow people to say, hey, if you know me, but I sent it to you in error, here's how to get around that. And so that's the core of what we do. I think we are trying to, as our first version of the product, solve the problem of email, which is why, people should have to think, is what they're sending to you relevant before they do it. And right now, they're not. You can send an email to 10 million people by the push of a button, and you don't get forced to think about it. And so imagine if that sender gets that challenge back and it says, hey, do you know me? Or is it worth your time? And they decide no, well, then that email doesn't bother you. So that's a core of what we do at Gated.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andy. This has just been such a fun conversation. Before we start to wrap up, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can connect with you, find out more about your team, find out more about if Gated might be a good fit for them, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Yeah, gated.com, gated.com. The tool is 100% free for users. It's funded completely by sender donations. And if people want to follow me on LinkedIn, that's great. And then anyone that wants to email me, andy@gated.com. My email is always available. And if you don't know me, just donate my $2 to reach me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andy. It has been a true pleasure to have the opportunity to talk with you. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Andy can do for you. Check out Gated. I think it's so cool. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Do you enjoy the Human Capital Innovations podcast? Enjoy ad-free listening by going to the Patreon page, and please consider contributing even at the producer or sponsorship level. And please leave a review. Thank you for your support. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe, and that you have a great week.